Scanner alert. Buy Euro Canadian dollar. Scanner alert. Sell Canadian dollar Swiss franc. Scanner alert. Buy Great British Pound Sterling Canadian dollar. Scanner alert. Buy Euro New Zealand dollar.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, May 4th, 2017. My name is Walt Odysseus with Forex Fusion. ForexFusion.com. This is a demonstration of the Elite Platinum Edition. The Forex Fusion Traders Toolbox is the branding that's now being placed on the software component of Elite Platinum Edition. This is a demonstration. I'm going to walk you through the Forex Fusion software this morning, the components of the software. On the screen is a disclaimer. Please take a look. Basically says that I am not a CTA. We're not giving you financial advice. This is merely a demonstration of the Forex Fusion trade decision analysis and assistance software. Do not trade with funds you cannot afford to lose, and be sure and consult your own financial professional. Anybody who disagrees with these terms, please discontinue viewing at this time. Let's take a look at the Forex Fusion dashboard. So the trend scanner did get one new additional data column. We are always at work continually upgrading the data that the trend scanner dashboard provides for users. The general concept in using Forex Fusion Toolbox to begin with is that Forex Fusion Toolbox is a manual bolt-on product for MetaTrader 4 spot Forex trading platform. If you don't know what MetaTrader 4 is, then you're probably viewing the wrong stream. If you are a MetaTrader 4 MT4 manual trader, you're at the right stream. When you're trading MetaTrader 4 manually, more information is better. One of the many drawbacks of the MetaTrader 4 trading platform is that it can only use pricing data, historical pricing data that it receives. It receives price at time, and that's all it receives, and therefore that's all it can spit out, and that's all the information you have as a trader on the MetaTrader 4 platform. Because that's all the information you have and all the information MetaTrader can spit out, traders are always trying to get some additional information to give them an edge in trading Forex on MetaTrader. And that's what Forex Fusion's Toolbox provides. The Toolbox has three main components. The first one we're going to talk about that you're looking at right now is the Trend Scanner dashboard. Trend Scanner dashboard, we'll talk about the reasons why it's important to even have a dashboard. We'll talk about the usage of our dashboard, how to use it, how to get the most out of it, and the different things that it provides. We'll also cover in the next hour or so the other couple components of the Forex Fusion Toolbox, and that is the custom trading chart template and the Forex Pro Toolkit trade management component as well on the trading chart. Forex Fusion does come with three sort of flavors designed to be usable for any short-term trading style. If you're a scalper and you use 5-minute or 15-minute trading charts, there's a template and a set file for you. If you're a day trader and you use 30-minute or 1-hour trading charts, there is a template and set file for you. If you are a swing trader and you use 4-hour charts, there is a template and a set file for you. The charts all use the same indicators and information. They just have different tunings based on your time horizons. Of course, when you are a scalper, your trades generally only last 2 to 3 hours. When you're a day trader, your trades can last anywhere from 12 to 18 hours, sometimes 20 hours. And of course, if you're a swing trader, your trades can last a couple days. Forex Fusion provides the templates and set files no matter what your style is, and of course you can change your own style and adjust and go from one to another at any time. So what is Forex Fusion? Forex Fusion is this trader's toolbox with these three main components. It is a set of trading rules to use on the trading charts with the software. So looking again at the Trend Scanner dashboard, our first component, let's talk briefly about why you might want a dashboard, why a dashboard is important, why a Trend Scanner dashboard is relevant, is necessary. Well, first of all, our scanner dashboard, as you can see, is color-coded. So it's easy to see when you have green or red color-coded conditions. You can see on the left-hand column are the symbols. If you just look across the rows for each pair, each instrument, it's easy to see in a color-coded way whether that instrument is has a heavy bias for a buy, which would be green, or a sell, which would be red. And you can tell from taking a look at the entire scanner what the general market condition is. If the market's moving, you'll see a lot of high numbers here in the total column and very few ranging conditions in the ranging and trending column. If you see a lot of ranging in that trend column, you'll know the market is moving sideways, moving sluggishly. Might not be the best time to enter trades. During these demonstrations, we have used both the scalper set file and the day trader set file. Last week we were using the day trader set file. I think we're going to switch back to using the scalper set file for the demonstrations. Only because the demonstrations are only about an hour and I'd like to be able to act on some scanner signals and alerts, and the potential for having an actual trade and alert during the 1 hour window that we do the demonstration is much lower if we're using the day trader set file. So I think we're going to switch back to the scalper set file. We're still not going to force any trades that aren't there, but at least if we get alerts during our demonstration period, it'll be a nice opportunity to actually set up and execute trades. So I'll put a little label here that does say scalper set file. This is the scalper set file, and when we switch over to the trading charts that I'll demonstrate also, we'll also use the scalper set file. It's important that whatever set file and template you use, whatever set file you use on the scanner, that's the template you also use on the trading charts. So again, using the scanner, color-coded quick glance of the market gives you overall market condition. The sizes and the colors and the fonts of all of the data, the separator lines, the spacings, all of that is customizable in the settings. If you don't like the way it looks here on my demonstration, it's fully customizable, and of course the actual pairs and instruments you include is customizable as well. Go ahead and leave out pairs that you don't bother trading, and make the typefaces larger, whatever customizations you want to make. That's all in the settings file. The other reason to use the scanner beyond just having it as a quick reference at any time is that it gives you a alert status via pop-up, via spoken alert message.
Scanner alert. Buy US dollar, Canadian dollar.
I don't know if you can hear that. Did you just get an alert? Maybe I should turn up the volume so you can hear the spoken ones during the broadcast. It does spoken alerts. It will also SMS notify or email alerts. You can set any of the data columns individually to give you an alert when they have an alert status, if there's a particular column you find useful. But the most important use and the smartest way to use this is use the group alerts. The group alerts relate to this column here called total, and total is a summary, an important summary of all the other columns in the scanner. I'll go over the exact way to interpret totals when we get into the individual column discussion, and important thing to remember is that it's totals that will trigger the group alerts, and that allows you to not be chained to the computer. You don't have to sit and watch your charts. You can just get alerts when there's a condition allowing you to go ahead and go about your day, whatever you might be doing, and just get notified when there's an alert condition to check out. So let's talk a little bit about the individual columns. And before we do that, of course, the first column is the symbols. You can put up to 35 symbols at one time into the scanner, anything that's in your market watch. And the top row here is the timestamps. The scanner does pull data from the Forex Fusion servers, which are located on the East Coast of the United States. It's important to be able to tell if the scanner is able to pull updated data from the Forex Fusion servers, because if you unknowingly had outdated data, it might cause erroneous trades or erroneous things for you to look at that are just based on inaccurate or outdated information, and we don't want that. The timestamps all correlate to your local PC clock, and if you ever notice that the clock and the timestamps, your local clock and the timestamps, are more than about 10 minutes or so out of sync, then you have a connection problem to investigate. So the specifics of that are a little outside of the scope of our demonstration, but if you have a connection problem, you might have just a general internet connection problem. You might have a problem reaching our servers. It does happen that our servers on occasion could go down on our end, but in any case, if you see a far out of sync timestamp, you'll know that that's not valid information. The only exception to that is the SD column performs its own internal stuff, so that doesn't always stay up to date. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the individual columns. I'm going to go through what each column is. One of the most important aspects of the scanner is that we don't use just technical analysis indicators. There are a couple of other scanners that I've ever seen for MetaTrader. There's probably 3 or 4 actual scanners you can find that are floating around on the internet. Most of them are for sale, not for huge amounts of money, and I've never seen a free one, but they're generally not all that expensive. And you know, all the ones I've ever seen just take 5 or 10 technical analysis indicators and throw them all on one screen and call that a scanner or a dashboard. Well, that's all great, except the problem is your technical analysis really is one data point, not 10. So, you know, slicing and dicing the same thing and just using 10 different technical analysis indicators is not actually a robust way of looking at the market. For a robust view of the market, you need multiple uncorrelated points of information. And that's what the Forex Fusion Trend Scanner provides. The first column is strength. That is a fundamental proprietary strength score for each currency in the pair. What we do is at the beginning of each week, we run each currency through a proprietary formula that takes a look at interest rate differentials, other fundamental factors such as options volatility, institutional positioning, a number of factors, runs through a formula and gives us a fundamental strength score for the week for each currency. That lasts the entire week, and it is adjusted by geopolitical events or breaking news or released economic data news for each currency that affect each currency. Most importantly, if there is a high impact news release that comes out with data extremely unexpected that will impact in real time our currency strength scores, and they are adjusted and revised in real time. But as you can see, each currency strength is compared against the other currency in the pair to give an overall directional bias. And of course, the best trades come when you have a currency that's super strong against a currency that's super weak. And you can see, of course, they're color coded. So that's fundamental strength. The next column is correlation. Every currency has a well, not every currency, but most major currencies have a correlation to either an equities index or a commodities futures contract. A well-known example is that the Canadian dollar currency is correlated to the West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures and even spot price. Another well-known correlation is that the US dollar correlates inversely to the S&P 500 equity index. So most major currencies correlate to something, and that correlation is examined. The directionality of the correlated instrument is examined. We do some other calculations to it and come up with a directional bias for this column. If you see a yellow, that means they both have the same bias, and therefore it's more or less a neutral reading, because that means it could go either way. Or it means that there is no correlation. Like, for example, the Kiwi dollar, there is no correlated instrument that we have. RVS means reverse to strong in this case. And you can see the color-coded directional bias there. Next column is retail. MetaTrader 4 brokers do publish in various places across the internet their positionings of their retail traders in terms of buy positions and sell positions. We aggregate that information, we analyze that information in real time, and we output a ratio. If the ratio is above 1, that means there are more buyers than sellers. If the ratio is below -1, that means there are more sellers than buyers. However, retail is a contrarian indicator. Retail traders are nearly always wrong. And the more extreme the value, the more wrong they are until you reach a reversal point. So for example, a -1 and below for us, really for our purposes, is a buy signal. A value above a 1 and higher is a sell signal. And the more above 1 it is, the more of a sell it is, until we reach a reversal point, which varies by pair. The way the colors are coded here, you see the values, but the way the colors are coded is that the values are plotted against a moving average to let us know whether those values are increasing or decreasing. So as an example, the US dollar, Canadian dollar with a -357, -3.57 rather, and a green, that means not only is it -3.57, but the value is also continuing to go lower. That's a very strong buy indication for that pair. The Aussie dollar, a 4.28 means, and red means that it's not only at a 4.28 level, but it is going higher. It's above its moving average, and therefore that is a strong sell indication for that pair. Next column is Fourier Stoke. We've actually renamed that label, so that's incorrect. The new current label should say OBOS for overbought, oversold. Same information, just different label. In any case, it is an overbought, oversold reading. there are two levels of overbought, oversold. There is a weak overbought, oversold, and a strong overbought, oversold. I believe the defaults are 75 and 25 for the weak levels and 90 and 10 for the strong levels. A gray means that the stochastic value is not at an overbought or oversold level. So there are 5 actual conditions in colors, not 2. A weak sell is orange, a strong sell is red, a weak buy is aqua, a strong buy is green. The next column is SD, that stands for supply demand. Supply demand zones are a concept developed by a guy named Sam Seedon. He did some YouTube videos a few years back. Supply demand zones really are glorified support and resistance zones. They can be pretty useful. I don't believe we use them as much on the scalper set file. But the concept of SD and how we use them here is that the price that you see, the value is the location of the furthest edge of the nearest SD zone. If the current pricing is below the zone, then the color and the coding will be red or sell. If the current pricing is above the zone, the color and the coding will be green or buy. That's because the general behavior, excuse me, excuse me for that interruption. That's because the general behavior is when prices are coming down, we see new supply zones created continually, and therefore the prices are always just below each zone as they're created, and vice versa with buys. The next column is Ichimoku. That is the standard Ichimoku that's built into MetaTrader 4. The way we use it is Ichimoku has 3 components. If all 3 components agree, then that is a nice indicator of a trend, and it'll display here a buy or sell trend if that occurs. If all 3 pieces of Ichimoku do not agree, then we have a mixed condition. Forex Fusion in general is a trend following system. What we're looking for are hard trends, definable trends, and we buy dips in those trends, and we're looking to sell rallies in those trends. And for that reason, the trend scanner is looking to identify these trends. And so again, Ichimoku helps us identify if there is a trend. The next column, trending, only has 2 states, trending and ranging. It's not a buy or a sell, it's just trending or ranging. It's also a good gives a good overall view of the market. If you see a lot of pairs ranging, then you've got a sluggish sideways market. As you can see right now, most pairs are trending. Can make sense to stay out of trading a range, any pairs that are ranging. SOCMET is the next column. That is an internal script that we run, an internal component that we run that actually scans social media accounts on the internet, publicly posted social media accounts, and it actually tries to interpret comments about each currency and about each pair, and it tries to interpret those comments as being positive or negative for that pair. And if there are enough of those, and there's a preponderance of sentiment in social media, then that's what's displayed here as bullish or bias. As bullish or bearish, I'm sorry. Next column is Vola filter. I'm going to describe all three of the next columns because they're all just variations of the same thing. Vola filter really is a blended look at the weekly range for each pair. All of the figures that you see are in percentages. So 43.21 here, I don't know if you can see that because it's gray, but 43.21, that means that the euro dollar has moved 43% of its average weekly range of a custom blended number of weeks. ADR, of course, is average daily range. Again, sticking to our example, the euro has moved 113% of its average daily range. The ASR is average session range, and the euro has moved 15% of its average session range so far in today's session. The sessions are broken down into Asia, Europe, and New York. The New York session just began 34 minutes ago. The reason we look at these is because in short-term trading, ranges are important. Whenever you exceed ranges, unless those extensions are fueled by news, anytime you reach average ranges, those are great opportunities to consider taking trades in the other direction. Important to realize that when those ranges are extended by news, you don't want to ever fight those news items. But when ranges are exceeded and there is no news, those are really great opportunities to think about trades in the other direction. And that's why the color coding really will tell you to go the other direction, the direction that the color shows. In other words, as an example, for the Australian dollar, we've gone 120% of the average weekly range in the Australian dollar. Now we're close to the end of the week, but according to this column of data, you really only want to go long the Australian dollar. Now we do have RBA coming up this evening in the next Australian session, so I don't know that we want to enter anything that includes the Australian dollar because there is, I think it's RBA minutes out, and it probably isn't wise to get involved in a trade just a few hours before an undefined central bank bit of news. And there's no expectation, so there's no way for us to play to that expectation. So we're not going to touch any Australian dollar. But in the absence of news, this column would be telling you this reading would be only go for buy positions in this pair for the remainder of the week. You can see the same is true for these other Australian dollar pairs. I don't know if this move comes as a result of some news we've had. I'd have to take a look at the Australian dollar, or if this is just in anticipation of the RBA's discussion or announcements tonight. For the ADR, you can see that the euro dollar, by comparison, has reached and exceeded its average daily range. The pound dollar has also exceeded its average daily range. It's at 106%. So these have clearly gone up. so far in the trading day. And according to these columns, the fact that they've gone up past their ranges means that the best trading opportunities are to go to the other side. Of course, that's only one way to look at those ranges, and those are just single data points. But that's what those three columns represent. Ranges are important. And the smaller the time frame, the more important ranges are. When you get down to the scalping level and you're trading individual sessions, the daily range is very important. The last column is velocity. This is something new we've added. Velocity really works well, especially in conjunction with the overbought, oversold column. It really just tells us that the prices have been moving and are moving in a smooth and definable and predictable way to the upside or the downside, of course, green or red. It is very smooth. You don't see a lot of jumping around. This is a proprietary internal velocity calculation. The usage of velocity, especially in conjunction with the overbought, oversold, can be very powerful. If you have overbought, well, we don't have any super overbought, but or if you get any over, well, if you have any super overbought, like for example the Euro USD, the overbought is in its extreme range, so it has moved up quite a bit. You can see that the other columns are green that indicate trend. We have exceeded the daily range. The velocity is up. So if you were to see the velocity turn to a red, that would give you a nice indication and probably an alert to look at a sell. Now that we've talked about the individual data columns and why it's important that each column is actually uncorrelated data for the most part. These are uncorrelated items, and several of them aren't even connected to prices. And that's important, again, to have a robust reading of the state of each pair. Let's talk about the first column, and that's totals. And totals is a summary of the other columns. I'll explain how to read and understand the total column. One quick note that we did get about 30 minutes ago an alert to go long on the dollar CAD, US dollar CAD, so I'll pull up a trade chart. Possibly we've missed the best opportunity to get on that, but we'll take a look at the trade chart once we go to look at the trade charts. In any event, the total column, again, is a summary of the other columns. You'll see two numbers, a number slash number. The second component, the second piece, is our alert level. I think the default is set for all the set files to 5. I actually like to set it to a 6. The higher the alert level, the stronger the alert will be. That's because a yellow reading, especially in the correlation column here, a yellow reading can be interpreted for either a green or a red, and so if you leave it at 5, you're probably going to get some alerts that may not even be worth checking out, but at least I set mine to 6. If you set it to 6, you get very good alerts for very good trending situations. So the second number is the alert level. In the settings, you can turn any of the columns to true or false regarding whether or not to be included in the total columns calculation. I think for scalper, I think we have turned off, set to false, the session range and possibly supply demand. The other set files, for the most part, all the columns are turned on. There are a couple that are turned off by default. You can check those in your own settings and adjust them as you see fit. Again, when a column is turned off for the purposes of the total column, they won't be included. That column will not be included in the totals count. So when a column is a buy or a sell, that adds a +1 to the count for that condition. The velocity adds a +2 to the count for its position. The overbought, oversold adds a +1 for a weak buy or sell. And then it adds another +1 for a strong buy or sell. So we end up getting a count over here in the totals column. And as you can see, that's a good indication of whether or not we're trending. You can just use the totals column by itself and really just keep an eye on that to let you know where the hard trends are. And of course, that's the real purpose of the scanner to begin with, is to let you know at all times in real time and updated where the hard trends are, and try to catch them as quickly as you can before they're over. Part of using an overbought, oversold is to give you an opportunity to catch things that are ready to reverse within a larger context of a larger trend that we're trading. Okay, so that's a discussion of the individual columns. I'm going to take a quick break here for 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about the trade chart, and we'll open up a couple trade charts depending on what we see here for levels. We're going to open up, maybe we'll open up a pound Canadian dollar trade chart. Before we open up any trade charts, and it's something just to mention, the most important part of any short-term trading is always news releases. That's something we always check first before we even look at trade charts or even consider trades to take. During the overnight, I believe we had some Spanish unemployment news out of the Eurozone, some other Eurozone employment-related news. If I saw right, it was good news for the euro. We did just have some U.S. news out also. And let's see, do we have any coming up? We do have a couple of speeches, very interestingly, coming up in a few hours. Draghi speaking later. Bank of Canada governor speaking later on tonight, and then we have the RBA, Royal Bank of Australia, out with a monetary policy statement in their session later on. We're definitely not gonna take any Australian dollar related trades today. But any other trades that we see that become any other trades that look like they're worth checking out in terms of what the scanner says are the opportunities, we'll open up trade charts and If we have an opportunity, we'll set some orders using Forex Pro Toolkit and talk about those and try to get a trade if there's an opportunity during this demonstration. Be back in 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, I am back. Want to take a quick look at the news calendar for the remainder of the New York morning. We don't have anything coming up. The trade balance and the jobless claims are what just did come out about 30 minutes ago. They were both mildly good news for the US dollar. Did not seem to impact the market very much. So what I've done here is we're taking a look at the trend scanner dashboard. I did pull up a couple of trade charts. Let's go over and take a look at the trade charts. Okay, apologize. For some reason I'm not getting the trade chart. Just give me 1 minute here. Okay, everyone should be able to see that now. That I did call up a couple of trade charts. This is the Forex Fusion scalper template. Forex Fusion Toolbox does come with 3 different templates for scalper, day trader, and swing trader. Let me quickly run through the trading chart template elements. I don't see anything in imminent tradable situation. As you can see, the dollar CAD even is very sideways here. But anyway, in the scalper template, we're using either the 5-minute or the 15-minute trading chart. In this case, I've got the 15-minute up. If you like to trade faster, of course, you can use the 5-minute rather. The yellow lines are just spacers. The most important one are the 0, 0, and 100 levels. The most reliable support and resistance lines you will ever find in trading Forex are whole numbers. Regardless of what anyone tells you, whatever any vendor tries to sell you, the most important support and resistance lines in Forex are the 0, 0, and 100 whole numbers. Also significant are the mid-levels, the 50s, and of at least worth mention significance are the 25 levels. These do vary slightly depending on the pair. For example, more volatile pairs such as the pound Aussie, you wouldn't even bother with the 25s. You might just jump to using 0, 0s, and 50s. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're trading the Euro Swiss franc with an entire daily range of 40 pips, you probably would set, of course, at the 0, 0, and 100 levels, but you would also set these dotted line spacers at the 10 pip level. So it's a little bit adjustable based on the pair. The defaults we use for the scalper template are at 25, 50, 75. They are adjusted for the day trader and the swing trader accordingly, and again, those are adjustable by the user depending on the pair. But the whole numbers are displayed here because they're the most important support and resistance area. I did just get a group sell alert for the Kiwi Yen. So we'll open up a trade chart for that in a moment. Just getting back to the trade chart elements, you can see that we show the floor trader horizontal support and resistance lines. These are pretty standard. You can find these at a lot of different places. The floor trader pivot horizontal lines. We also have projected highs and lows. You can see the bluish projected daily high and the orange projected daily low. These are important in short-term trading and in day trading as potential reversal points. The actual pricing bars are colored with an indicator called trend bars. This is real choppy, as you can see. Blue to red to blue. The first sub-window has one of our indicators called the cycle timer. The cycle timer works in concert with the indicator here on the bottom sub-window, which is a proprietary volatility adjusted stochastic. Now really, what are these two things in tandem? They're really just timing indicators, and they're really just intended to help us buy low and sell high. They're looking to help us identify local extremes. If our scanner is saying that we want to be buying a pair, then we're looking to buy low. If our scanner says that we're looking to sell a pair, then we're looking to sell high. And that's all that these sub-windowed indicators are attempting to show. The cycle timer will draw an arrow and a related support line when it detects a cyclical turn while we are in sold status. And vice versa. When it detects we're in overbought status and it detects a cyclical turn, you'll see an entry arrow and a resistance line. The drawn support and resistance lines are the most powerful and useful when they're in confluence. Use them in confluence with either the dotted or the solid, especially the solid, whole numbers. Now I can't show the floating order interface for the Forex Pro Toolkit. Floating windows don't show up here in the broadcast, but I do have a floating hovering order menu for our order entry system Forex Pro Toolkit. I'm going to switch back to the dashboard for a moment. Now we did just get a Kiwi Yen alert. But now we are not at the alert level for the Kiwi Yen. As we saw from the trade chart, the dollar CAD really is moving sideways here, and with no more news this morning, we could see an entry, but we certainly don't have one right at the moment. If you take a look over at the ADR column, you can see that a number of pairs have exceeded their daily range. A very quick way to see where we are in the market is to go ahead and take a look at the daily range and then look at velocity. So as you can see, we have the Euro USD has clearly gone up and has now exceeded its daily range. The velocity is still up. We are well overbought. Ichimoku says the trend is up. We're almost at the alert level to be looking for a sell in that pair. Euro Aussie still a buy, but well beyond its daily range. I'm not going to look at that because we have the RBA coming up tonight. Euro Swiss. Definitely a hard trend to the upside. Pound Aussie and Pound CAD showing trends to the upside, especially the Pound Aussie. Pound Aussie. If you bear with me, I'm going to open up a Pound Aussie chart. See if we can find an entry. I'm sure that the Pound Aussie is moving higher. The question is if we can get an entry. Bear with me one moment. All right, let's take a look at the trade chart. We're taking a look at the Pound Aussie. We are showing alert level status on the scanner for a buy. As you can see, the pair definitely has been moving higher. The best buy signal occurred during Europe sometime, during the European morning. We are still moving higher though. You can see the projected highs of the day. Now the trading method for Forex Fusion, okay, this is one of those pairs where it doesn't make any sense to have anything less than 50 levels as its support and resistance points. Okay. So let's go over the Forex Fusion trading method, and then we'll wrap up the broadcast. Get an alert from the scanner or identify from the scanner a pair that has a hard trend. In this case, what looks like a good opportunity is or hard trend rather, is the pound Aussie. The question is, can we get an entry? When you take a look at the trade chart and open up a trade chart, yes, we can see that the small speculator positions, the retail trader positions are in our favor to go long. Yes, we can see we did have entry arrows, but we're not there right at the moment. We've sort of had our chance, and now we're closing in on the projected highs for the day. Without any news, the best way to look at trade entries are to use limit orders, because of course there's two types of orders. Other than a market order, there are two types of pending orders. Those are limit orders and stop orders. A limit order is where you set your pending order below the current price of the market. A stop order is where you set your order above the current price of the market. If you're looking to buy, reverse if you're looking to sell. The general theory, of course, is that if you're using a limit order, you're going to wait for the price to come back to a level. You're going to wait for a pullback. In the case of a stop order, you're looking for prices to break a level. So the first thing we do as part of the Forex Fusion trading method, when we're on a trade chart, you go ahead and identify the closest valid areas of support and resistance. In this case, the closest area of support is the whole number here at 1.7400. So I'm going to take a pending buy and place a pending buy limit. Now normally I would go ahead and place a pending buy stop just above this next whole number, and we have a bracketed situation. When you know you have a hard trend and you don't know which opportunity you're going to have, it makes the most sense to set bracketed orders and then click in Forex Pro Toolkit OCO link, which means one cancels the other, and then when one of the orders fills, the other one's immediately canceled. That way you're going to get just one of the entries. When there's no news, especially if you're using a scalper set file, when there's no news for the remainder of the session, really it's most prudent to just wait for a limit and not even use a stop. I mean, you can set a stop, but the best time to use a stop is when there has been news or there will be news to help fuel a move, because setting a stop order really is in anticipation of an extension of a move. We do have, of course, the range high projections right up in this area. So again, not smart to use a live buy stop here. I'm just doing this for illustration purposes. I'm not going to turn active that buy stop line. This is a valid buy limit though. If we get a pullback down to the whole number, that'd be a nice buy limit. Maybe we'll see that. So that's going to wrap up the demonstration for this morning. It's 20 minutes past the normal hour for the demonstration. Thanks for watching. There was not a trade entry during this session. Thanks for watching. Check out forexfusion.com. We'll see you next time.